Okay, so if we're going to create a blow-up of the unit plan on our main floor plan, which is at 1/8 inch equals a foot, if we zoom in on that, we can see that it gets pretty congested to put in the view bubbles and so forth, and it gets kind of crowded in here. So in this case, you will not show those on this plan. So I would highlight one of them. In this case, it's got the name tag in there. I'm going to shift and remove the kitchen name. And then I will right-click and hide in the view the category. And those all go away on this plan. Okay. So I don't want to show those on this plan because they congest everything. But we created this one-bedroom unit plan the other day. Everybody remember how to do that? Okay. And if I click on that, I'm in that one-bedroom unit plan, and they're still there, right? So I only hid them in that other view, and now they don't take up too much space on this plan. When you put those in initially, you'll probably notice that yours don't look like mine because yours say something here, right? They say elevation, kitchen elevation something, or bathroom elevation, right? And I don't really want that on there. It gets to be too much wording. I just want it to be a detail number, or an elevation number. So if we go up to manage at the top, and on yours, I think you're in unit, you probably have one that says additional settings. Mine's just an icon. I'll click on additional settings. You'll get this drop down, and you go down to elevation tags. If you click on elevation tags, we have two different types of tags up here. We have square tags and we have circle tags. Well, these are circle tags, and right now mine says elevation mark body circle filled arrows. Yours probably defaulted to a detail number and detail name. So if I change it to detail number and name and say OK, this is probably what yours look like. Is that right? They've got so much information on there. So if you just go up to manage, additional settings, elevation tags, change it to the circle tags, click the little down arrow and take the one that just says detail number. Say OK, and you'll have something a little simpler. Okay, so that tag is really telling you that on page A16 in this case, which we'll change at some point, not to be 16, but you got an elevation 4 and 5 on that page that you could look for on page A16. Okay, so we need an elevation. In this case, this is the one-bedroom unit, and we have an elevation of the two walls of cabinets in the kitchen, the wall that has the vanity and the toilet on one side, and on the other side it's a tub and the door. In the master bedroom, we have one elevation looking toward the sink. Some of you may have not put these bubbles in yet, so I'll go through how you would put those in. If I go to the View tab at the top, and we go to this little icon that says elevations, you click the down arrow, you would have framing elevations or elevations. We're going to click elevations, and then over on the properties palette, you want to make sure that you're doing an interior elevation versus a building elevation. The building elevation are the exterior views of the building. The interior elevations are the obviously interior elevations. So we're going to click interior elevations, and then you'll see that you have this elevation bubble on your cursor. Okay, I'm just going to stick one in my living room here just to show you. If I click this one, I want to point it toward where I want to look. If I click that one, it'll put that one in. Now if I want to look at more than one view of this room, if I want to look at all the different walls of this room, if I hover over the circle, I can check things. So I could say I want to look at this wall, I want to look at this wall, and I want to look at this wall. Now I've got all 4 on there. And then if I go click on this arrow, I've got a view of that wall of this unit. If I go back to my first floor plan, if I clicked on this one, now I'm looking back toward the kitchen, right? You can look at it from many different sides. I'll go back to my new plan. And let's say I don't want to see this one on this end. Again, if I hover over the circle, I can uncheck the ones I don't want to do, and it'll tell me it's going to remove that view from your drawing. That's okay. 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 And I'm just looking at the one. In my case, I don't want to see this one, so I'm just going to delete it completely. So that would show you how to do that. The other thing I want to quickly go over here, remember that you can copy paste your dimensions in from your main floor plan onto this. You don't have to recreate your dimensions. You can go back, copy paste them in. But in some cases you may have to create new ones that weren't on the original one. So I put a new line in down here because those weren't needed on my full floor plan, but they are needed on this plan. Maybe there's a little wall here that I want to specify that I didn't dimension on my other one. And maybe you did dimension that. I'm not saying you didn't, but if you need to add dimensions, then you can always put those in, and then you can realize that that dimension is probably a weird dimension. Click on that wall and change that to something more simple, 3 foot maybe. Okay. Okay. Eventually we will be putting door tags in. I'm not going to talk about those yet today. We'll talk about that later, but I just want you to develop this unit plan with the tags on it and so forth, and creating the kitchen elevations and bathroom elevations. One more thing on here. When we created that outline of what we wanted to put on this view, or I drug out the call out bubble, and it came in with some stuff here that it doesn't affect me a whole lot, but like this little bit of the stairway shows because of the crop window, right? And if I pull that crop window out, I'm going to see more stairway. But I pull that over as close as I can without getting into the wall, and then, but it still shows something. And I probably don't want to show that stairway. If I highlight that stairway, I can hide that in the view, right? And even these little walls here that are coming across, I can't hide that one, but I could hide that in the view and clean that up a little bit, right? So you can do little things like that that'll make your drawing look a little better probably. Shelving, has everybody put shelving in their drawing? If not, there are 3-dimensional shelving that you can put in. You may have just drawn them in as hidden lines, but there are 3-dimensional shelving. And if you went to components and you have shelving in here. Okay, 15-inch deep. I don't know why they have 15-inch deep and 15-inch depth. I don't know quite what the difference is there yet. But of course, you can put those in. If I go look at my building from an isometric view, and I have put a section box on. Everybody familiar with what a section box is? Okay, if you're not, when you go to your 3D view, you can pull this properties down and find something called section box and check it on or off. Okay, so now it's off. I'm seeing the whole building. And if I put the checkbox on, I'm seeing the whole building with the section box. Then you can click on the section box and drag that down so you're looking only at a portion of your building. You need to be very careful when you do this, that you're actually grabbing that little arrow. because you could be grabbing a door or you could be grabbing a window and you're just moving the window. So make sure that when you hover over that, it highlights, and then you drag it down to show only what you want to show. And orbit your building around so you can look into that unit in the best way that you want to. It might help you get a little more visual of what you're creating. So we'll go back to my unit plan. Try to put in that shelving. If the shelving comes in, we can always modify the shelving if we wanted to. It is 15-inch deep shelving. If you wanted to edit the properties of the shelving, you can change it to 12-inch shelving if you wanted to. You can change the shelf material. It defaults to by category. You could change it to some other material. The other thing that you'll notice that I've put on here is I have this tile floor in my kitchen now. And how did I do that? Well, there's a couple ways you could do that. You could just put in a fill region, right? You could create a fill region, put it in, which works fine. In my case, I actually put in a floor. It is a floor. If I hover over the edge of it, you'll see it's a floor, tile floor. Okay, so I created that. I'll put one in the bathroom here. I'm going to go to the floor command. It's going to default to the last one I put in here. And I'll just go show you what I did. I edit the type, edit the structure, and the only thing in this floor is it's tile, porcelain, 4-inch squares, 1/4 inch thick. 1/4 inch thick tile I put over top of my other floor. Right now the floor that we have in there is gypcrete, right? So I just put a 1/4 inch tile on top of my gypcrete as a second floor, a floor layer. So I just created this one that's 1/4 inch tile. Maybe I want to change the fill pattern on that. So right now it's defaulting to porcelain tile with a 4-inch fill. So I go down here to my surface pattern. I can click on that. If I want to change it to something else, let's see, what do we got here? Let's go to 8-inch tile. Click that. Say OK. Now it's 8-inch tile. Keeping in mind now that I also just changed my kitchen tile, right? Because I didn't create a new one. Okay, so I hadn't created a new one. I had just tried to edit this one. So in this case, I would and here you could change the color of it too, of course, so we could change it to a, we can play around with this a little bit by clicking different areas in here. We'll take that, we'll say OK. I'll change my pattern to 8-inch tile. Okay, so now I changed that one to okay, so we'll put a tile floor in this bathroom. So I'll go to floor. It's going to default to that tile floor because that's the last one I did. I'm just going to use some line work, and I'm going to trace the inside of this room. Now here's a spot where you might get a little confused because what I'm seeing is the countertop, right? So if I clicked out here, I'd be on the outside edge of the countertop. If I click here, I'm on the face of the cabinet, but we have a toe kick under the cabinet, right? I'm going to click here for now. I'm going to go over here, out to here, over to here, and back to here. Now I put a line in here that was wrong, so I'll just delete that one. I guess I had 2 lines in there. But over here I have a toe kick, and the toe kick is 3 inches, so I'm just going to move that line back 3 inches. And actually I think there's a toe kick on the tall cabinet that I got here as well, so I'll move that one back 3 inches. And then I'll finish that. And now I have a tile floor in my bathroom. The advantage of doing it as a floor versus doing it as just a fill pattern, if you do it as a fill pattern and you want to do a rendering of the inside of this room, you won't get a rendering of the fill pattern. If you do a floor, you will get a rendering of that floor, and I could change the color of that floor and all kinds of things that I can't do with a fill pattern, but I can do with a layer of floor that's a tile, right? You could do the same thing if you wanted to put carpet in the whole thing. I don't know if that's necessary, but you could do that. You could just say that your gypcrete is a certain color and get the same effect probably.